My name is Peter Cook. I'm an associate partner with Davis Brody Bond, Architects and Planners. Thank you very much for having us out here. It's a great turnout, and we're very pleased and honored to be here. My lovely assistant is right here, Samaj Tucker, who I work with on a daily basis. And Samaj is a New Orleans native, or as he's taught me to say, New Orleans. Is that right, Samaj? Okay. Davis Brody Bond is widely known as one of the nation's leading architecture and planning firms. We're based in New York. We operate out of the Washington, D.C. office, but by no means are we strangers to this particular area. If you're with this, we recently completed it at Dillard University, and this is the, let me see whether I can get it right, Dillard University International Center for Economic Freedom. A handsome building, if I do say so myself, even though I was not one of the project designers on this. As you can well imagine, this building, along with all the other buildings over there, suffered some damage on its first floor. So we've been asked by Dillard University to come back and assist them with the reconstruction of this particular building. But furthermore, what they've asked us to do is to help with the planning of the university, to come up with short-term strategies, long-term strategies, and everything in between to help get them back on their feet. So we've had to try to think creatively in terms of doing that. They've asked us to do that pro bono, and we were certainly happy to oblige. So we've been active down here in New Orleans, in particular in that particular neighborhood, the Gentilly neighborhood. Now, your logical question to me, and I've heard lots of logical questions this evening. One of them certainly would be, why do you think you can do this job? What makes you qualified to do it? This is an extraordinary circumstance that everyone is dealing with here in New Orleans, and I'm under no illusion about that. We have done a wide variety of work with other cities. We have worked with Washington, D.C., we've worked in Harlem, we've worked in Detroit, we've worked in Berkeley, California. We've worked all across the world engaging children, adolescents, elders, and so on in this whole process. And what we think is also important to recognize in this particular process, especially in disaster planning, is that women are often the people who bear the brunt of all of this. So one particular focus we have is on gender issues or gender planning, which is going to be critical because women often are the ones who are dealing with family issues, often the sole breadwinners and so on. So that's going to be something that will hopefully set our approach a little bit differently. Now, our approach is a four-pronged program, and that is bringing and accommodating the returnees, training and organizing residents for self-development and planning, establishing a community resource center, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, and defining sustainability for New Orleans. Now, very important to our approach also is institution building and outreach. And part of that process is that we are proposing that we would develop a community resource center. Now, this is not some virtual community resource center, not some theoretical community resource center, something that sits in a book on a shelf somewhere. We're talking about a physical place, a place that might be in a church basement, it might be in an empty storefront, it might be in a vacant library, or some space that is visible. Come and share information and ideas and create relationships or reestablish relationships, as the case may be. And it will help to form an institution that will make community rebuilding sustainable in the long term. And through this Community Resource Center, we will reach out to people who've been unable to return as yet. You know, one thing we were thinking about is it's almost like the hub of a wheel. You know, if you kind of think of the Community Resource Center as the hub here, and there are all sorts of local institutions that tie into that hub, be they churches or clubs or local schools. And together with that Community Resource Center, they can begin to share information, begin to share databases, for example, as a way to reach out to people who otherwise might be reachable. So that is one of the primary focuses of our effort, this Community Resource Center. We'll be working with high technology and low technology to reach out to these people. Phones and emails and faxes and old-fashioned word of mouth, as the case may be. Now, I'm sure every one of you with great eyesight can see everything that's up here. But one of the things that I'll point out is that this team is being led by Max Bond, who's the partner in charge. And Max actually grew up, spent formative years of his life here in New Orleans, right on the London Avenue Canal, on the exact site of where that building was that I showed you a moment ago up there. So he has some real connections here. His parents were educators at Dillard University for a period of their lives as well. So Max will be the partner in charge on this project. 2 or 3 other critical people on this list that I want to point out, besides ourselves, of course, are Professor Roy Strickland, who is the lead planner and project manager, and Ghislaine Hermanus. All of these people you'll see on this list have had experience in city planning and so on. Okay. Roy is the director of University of Michigan's Urban Design Program and the developer of the City of Learning planning strategy. That has engaged school kids and families across the country. Ghislaine is the director of the City College Architectural Center in New York City. She's worked with Harlem neighborhoods in community development projects totaling millions of dollars. And Aisha Yonder is a professor at Pratt Institute who's an expert in post-disaster planning around the world, and especially with a focus on women. We also hope to be able to tie into students at these various institutions as well. I'm getting a little message that I'm probably running a little longer than I want, so let me hand it over to Samaj, who can talk about some other things about his upbringing in New Orleans.
Hi, everyone. Was that loud enough? I really enjoyed speaking to everyone here, and it's great to be invited here. Hopefully, we can work with some of you all in your communities. And I would just like to say personally that we've had a couple of people we talked to who are concerned about people coming from out of town who don't know anything about the city. I would like to say personally that as a member of the Davis Brody Bond team and as a New Orleans native, that to me, being able to do this work would be truly a labor of love, and that I'd be able to fulfill some of my professional aspirations by helping this city that I love get back into shape. Also, having all of my family here, I found that some of the things that are overlooked when you talk about infrastructure is family infrastructure. Communities are created by families. This thing has had a devastating impact on individuals and families. So as Davis Brody Bond team, we're looking to incorporate the other infrastructure, which is the human infrastructure. And another thing I'd like to say to you all is that this team, we've got a lot of professional experience, but also coming to the table with myself, I feel like I can offer a lot as far as local knowledge, experience, and that when you have someone who's grown up here, who's lived in many different neighborhoods through this city, we moved around a lot, but having that internal understanding, culture, people, neighborhood, I definitely will be injecting it into the process, whether we're in New Orleans or in New York or in Washington, D.C.
Inject is a strong word, Samaj. Thank you, Samaj. Absolutely. And I have 30 seconds left. Just wanted to say thank you very much again. Davis Brody Bond views planning as an interactive and an evolutionary process, and it's incomplete without people like yourselves at the table. A plan represents a series of steps towards a goal. And like I said, this can only be achieved through working with you, and by that I mean listening to you and, quite frankly, learning from you. We have a lot to learn from you, and we certainly look forward to that opportunity. So on behalf of the entire Davis Brody Bond family, family. That's because that's what it is. And actually, it's not a slip because we actually do feel that way at Davis Brody Bond. We certainly thank you for the opportunity that you presented us, and thank you for having us here today. Thank you.